Well, hello, hello. I'm in here a little bit early, about a minute early, because I was taught that to be early is on time and to be on time is late. So I'm just working my multiple devices so that I can be sure. While we're waiting, just pop in the chat where you are listening in from and your name. Also, I look forward to talking with you. I'm just going to start in just a minute and making sure everything is working. I have Facebook here, Instagram here. This is my first time using multiple devices, so bear with me. Welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. All right. It looks like people are coming in. I'm just making sure everything is flowing. Welcome. If you're just joining me, please drop into the chat where you are listening and watching from and your name. I like to know your name as well. I am using StreamYard. So if in fact you have registered with StreamYard, it should come through right away and I should be able to see your comments and your names. If you're listening to the replay, just put in hashtag replay so I know when you listen to this. I will be looking between my two devices. So please don't think that I'm ignoring you if you are on one device versus another, if you're on one platform versus another. I will get started in just a few seconds. Here I go. My name, hello, welcome. My name is Regina L. Henry. I am your principal life architect. Now, you may be thinking, like, what is a life architect and how are you the principal life architect? Well, what I do is I help you to design frameworks, much like an architect does. I help you to design frameworks that will help you to align your life with your genius. Um, Genius is something I really want to get into today and really define it so that every time you hear me say it, you know exactly what I mean, exactly what I'm referring to. So, um, part of my whole journey to this position as your principal life architect, I was an educator for many, many years. And in that time, I interacted with many types of children who grew up to be magnificently successful adults. And I know I'm dating myself. But in my journey, early on, before I even became an educator, I had experienced so many different traumatic things that it led me to make some really poor choices in my teens, up into my early 20s. But as I began to realize and recognize the poor choices, I made a switch in my life and began this pursuit of personal development that has lasted 30 years. I'm not kidding. And so, a lot of what I share and will be sharing for the next few weeks in our lunchtime live together. So, if you haven't yet, grab it, whatever it is that you want to snack on during this time. Um, what I'll be sharing is some of that wealth of knowledge and understanding and wisdom, really, that I have accrued over the past 30 years, right? So let's jump right into it. Part of what I want to start with, I love to begin with, is really to share how important words are. And I know many of us realize that on when we hear words that are offensive, we recognize the emotional and psychological effect that has on us. But words, not just the words that we receive, but the words that we speak to ourselves. I will say that again. The words we speak to ourselves are the most powerful, dare I say most powerful tool that we have in our toolkit. And so I would encourage you in our time of learning today and in subsequent weeks that you keep that floating in the back of your mind. And pay attention to the words that you are using with yourself because they matter. They really do matter. It really sets the course of how your mind is set for that day or that week, how your mind is set for that situation or circumstance that you are facing. It's what you're saying internally, not externally, because we have a way of mastering an external face, an external dialogue that is not always in congruence with our internal dialogue. And so I would encourage you to, as we move through this time together now and in the subsequent weeks, that you really drill down into those words that are going on in your heart and mind and you pay attention to them. Okay? So the word that I want to focus on today is the word genius. Yep. What is genius anyway? Many of you may have thoughts come to your mind. Well, a rocket scientist, that's a genius. Or, maybe we're thinking of Albert Einstein. That's a genius. Yeah. But genius, as it has come to be defined, is not how I define it when I use the term. The word genius comes from a Latin word. I love to go right into the root of words and where they come from so I can really know what it is I'm saying and how it's affecting me. But the word genius comes from the Latin word gignere, which also could be pronounced gignere. I've heard it both ways, but it means to beget. Now, when we beget something, we give birth, right? You beget a child, right? You're giving birth to something. So when it was believed then, and I still hold that belief, that genius, where the word genius comes from, gignere, you're born with it. It's the thing you're born with. But I see the genius as such a much more dynamic experience. First of all, I have found, not just in my own journey in life, but in all the different children that I've worked with as an educator and adults I've trained as an educator, that there is genius, absolute genius in each and every one of us. There's genius in us. It is really for us to unearth it and to spend the time to get to know it and then focus it to do something purposeful and good in this world, right? So let's put that right out there. I have developed what I call a genius identity model. It is a way for me, I use it, and those that I work with to begin to understand how their genius shows up. Now, there are 4 components to genius when I use the term in the genius identity model. And I keep it right here on my whiteboard because it helps me to be reminded of what all the different components that come together to express my genius in the world. So the first component is that which you are born with, what you beget, what you've begotten. I guess that's the term. It is your gifts. It's what you're born with. It's how you're wired. Some people are wired to be able to play sports. Some people are wired to be able to work with numbers very quickly. I am in my home office, so please excuse the mowing that's going on outside. I don't know. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So your gifts, your wiring, that's your wiring. The second component of the genius identity model, which you can see up here, are your passions, the things that you love, the things you value, most important to you. For some people, they value those closest to them, the people they love, they honor, they appreciate, right? For others, it's a purpose, a social concern or purpose, like climate change or even race relations, right? So there are different things that each of us value differently, and it's your wiring and your values that come together with the last 2 components, which skills. That's the things we're trained in. We got a degree in this, and we work doing that. So those are your skills, and then your experiences, all the things that you have been faced with throughout your life, that those things come together to really express your unique genius. It's like no one else's. Even if you have siblings, you've grown up in the same house, you've gone to the same schools, you will have genius that is expressed differently in the world than your sibling. And that is okay. I believe that it's created that way because we each have a unique, special something, some purpose to fulfill in this world, some contribution that makes a difference. Now, the last component of the genius identity model, experiences, they can have a way of overshadowing and overtaking the others, the gifts, the values and passions, and the skills. Sometimes the experiences that we have in our lives can take us out, quite frankly. And it is really up to us to process through them and to be able to use, remember those words, our internal dialogue to help build us back up to the place where we can express our genius out in the world like the boss. One strategy that I like to use, and I'll leave this tool with you, is to really um, take time to take an approach. It's an approach. It's called Kitsugi. It's a Japanese approach. The Japanese have an art form that when a piece of pottery or something is broken, right, and it's in all these pieces, they don't throw it away. They take those pieces of broken pottery, which sometimes we feel like the experiences of life can leave us broken. Well, they take those pieces of broken pottery and they bring it together and they seal it again with gold or silver or even platinum. And they call this process kitsugi. And because they see the brokenness of the vessel as part of the vessel's story. And so, what I want to leave you with today is as you begin to think about your own genius, your wiring, your values, how you've been trained, your skills, and those experiences, good, bad, and indifferent, right? Begin to appreciate them sort of like the Japanese does and see them for the beauty that they are. A broken vessel is still of great use. There's still much to be appreciated and valued in that vessel. So, if you are unsure about your genius and you want to spend some time digging in a bit more about your genius, please, please, please take a moment, go to reginalhenry.com/get the guide and get your free guide to live your genius, it's called. But it take you through the steps and what you can do to really be able to unearth those things in you that are waiting to be expressed out into the world. That's it for my lunchtime live, my friends. And I did it in 10 minutes. Now you got a whole hour to finish your lunch. It was great spending time with you. I will be back next Thursday, same bad time, same bad channel. And make sure you leave some comments. Let me know what you think. And if you're out throughout the week, if you have some ideas that come to mind, feel free to shoot me a DM or shoot me a post of some sort and share with me one thing that you may have learned during your time with me today. Okay? It was great spending time with you. Take care. Now I'm going to try to figure out how to cut everything off.